Hey everybody, welcome to a very special edition of the Heelcast. I'm Impact Dude, and I am joined by the returning Griggs. Griggs, are you ready for our special guest?
Oh yes, I definitely am. I'm excited for who we have with us today.
Yeah, well then, look, without further ado, let's welcome the newest member of the Impact roster, the Mystery X Attacker, none other than the killer himself, Killer Kross. Killer Kross, welcome to the Heelcast.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, look, Killer, we got a lot of questions for you, buddy. I'd say just getting started, can you tell us a little bit about the Killer Kross character and how it came about?
Yeah, absolutely. I had been wrestling as Kevin Kross for an extended period of time, and just due to the fans and their affection towards me and my work, I started acquiring about 1 million different monikers, anywhere from the Toll Man to the Herald of Doomsday. People were calling me the most vicious shooter in professional wrestling. I was getting 1 million out the wazoo. And eventually, what wound up happening was I had an ECW Extreme Rules match in North Carolina with franchise Shane Douglas. And the night before, I was watching, it was one of my favorite movies. You guys remember that movie, No Country for Old Men?
Oh, yeah.
There was a scene when the character Anton Chigurh is in handcuffs. He's in a police holding cell. And the cop is not paying attention to Chigurh. He has his back to him. Chigurh gets up and he grapevines him with his legs and he strangles the cop to death with the handcuffs. He wraps it around his neck. Well, what I did was with Shane, I grapevined him as well, and I took all the tape off my hands and I wrapped it around Shane's neck and I choked him out. There was foam coming out of his mouth and everything. You know, the fans freaked out about it. They thought it was, disturbing in a very entertaining way. And for probably 4 or 5 months on social media, people were just calling me Killer Kross, and I just thought to myself, well, you know what? These guys are paying to see me, and I'm showing up because they're there. I mean, let's face it, I don't know any professional wrestler would actually be doing professional wrestling in a live format if there wasn't any fans there. And I just put 2 and 2 together. I said, they're giving me something here. These guys have been giving me something, these things since the beginning of my career. This is another one. So we made the transition to Killer Kross, and that would probably be the easiest way to explain how Killer Kross manifested into the presentation you're seeing on television today.
Well, it's definitely a cool nickname to go by, and definitely have a good story of how you got it. We were just wondering, and I think a lot of people were wondering, how did you find yourself working with Impact Wrestling?
Well, it's funny you ask, actually, because this was something that was supposed to be in the works for an extended period of time. Shortly after Global Force Wrestling tapings with Karen and Jeff Jarrett in Las Vegas, Jeff and Karen had expressed to me at the time, years ago, that they were interested in bringing me on board. They were going to be doing a Global Force versus Impact thing. And I don't exactly know or understand what happened along the way. However, it was one of the best things that could have happened that we procrastinated this whole situation until now. Because with Global Force, I got to be honest, and I'm saying this respectfully, I was really, really let down and disappointed with my presentation. And it has nothing to do with Global Force. It was a failure on my part to deliver. Because as I'm sure you guys can understand when you hear me say this, imagine sitting in a room with 2 people that own a company, and they have a very, not like, when I say conservative, I mean they know the direction they want to be going in terms of their presentation. Imagine sitting in a room and trying to explain all the stuff that you guys are seeing on TV to them right now, and just imagine the look on their face. They'd be like, there's no way we can put that on television. That's completely insane. That's like so far out there. I'm sorry, we can't do that. So it was either anyone that they want on board was going to fit in, or they were not going to be on board. So what I did was I changed some parameters around my presentation in order to fit what they were doing. So it completely fell on me. And then shortly after that, I wound up signing with Lucha Underground. I've been with Lucha since season 2, and they're going to show my character presentation for season 4. I'm in the trailer as we speak right now. And I traveled all over the world and wrestled. I just got better, and my fan base broadened. So eventually, it was Don Callis who called me first, then Sonjay, and then Don finalized the deal. Don was really familiar with my YouTube channel and all my social media and some things I was doing with Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore. So, this was just a blessing in disguise that it happened like this, because I didn't have to sell Don on anything. He was already familiar with the character format. He said, we need to take what you're doing on the independents and we need to plug it into the television, because this is good TV. And I don't understand why anyone hasn't had the balls to actually launch us on the television program, but we're going to capitalize on it if you're interested. So we talked about it, we played some ideas, and that's basically how it happened.
Well, and I can tell you that anybody that is not familiar with your YouTube channel needs to become familiar with your YouTube channel and actually all of your social media. I mean, I think you're great on Facebook, you're great on Twitter, but you're specifically great with your website and you're great on your YouTube channel. And I urge all the listeners to check it out immediately. Maybe not quite now after you listen to this, but then go over and check it out. So I take it that you weren't really presented or pitched the Mystery X Attacker. It sounds more like this was collaboratively discussed between you and Don. Is that correct?
I would say so, yeah. I'm gonna give it to Don though. This was Don's brainchild to plug my character into this. It just so happened that everything fit perfectly. I mean, everything really fit perfectly. He had an idea, then I had an idea, and then I would say we collaborated for sure. But if any of the credit has to go to anybody, I would give it to Don personally and humbly.
Now, we saw on July 5th that you debuted against Fallah Bahh, and you pretty much, you destroyed Fallah Bahh. Assuming that Petey Williams is next on your list, do you foresee this match happening at Slammiversary? Are you looking forward to it?
I will say this. I'm going to catch up with Petey way before Slammiversary, and that's all I will say in that regard. But on the note of Slammiversary, you will see me there. In what capacity, that is yet to be determined, but it will be revealed, I'm sure, before the event is launched.
So why did you target Petey Williams?
He was there, He was just there. I mean, he made a left when he should have made a right, and that's just what happens in life.
I mean, I'm glad it was him and not me.
See, that's optimistic. I like that.
Now, look, as far as impact in the locker room, who do you typically hang with during the tapings?
I hang with everybody. I like to think that I'm a very easy person to get along with. If you don't BS me, I won't BS you. I'm an extrovert on TV, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've been an introvert my entire life, and coming out of my shell has been a bit of a challenge. But I think professional wrestling's really helped me with that. I'm just comfortable being on my own. I don't try to shove myself down anybody's throat. But I have a lot of really close friends that are at Impact. Actually, the whole Mexico crew I've been working with in AAA and Lucha Libre for years. Penta and Phoenix are good friends of mine. Phantasma, although we're better enemies, if you know our history from Aerostar, Drago. Taya is a very close friend of mine. So is Johnny. Austin and I have become very good friends. He's moved here to Las Vegas. We train together from time to time. I have a ton of friends that are there. So, I mean, it's a very warm and welcoming atmosphere when I'm not doing things that could be categorized as like a felony.
Well, speaking of locker rooms, it seems like this is always something that's brought up from the dirt sheets. How is the actual morale at the Impact locker room?
It's excellent. It's excellent. And to be perfectly honest with you, I was a little concerned with that when I was going in. I had no idea what to expect. I don't know where people and things were going to be, but everything is outstanding. You have a locker room full of new talent that are really, really, really hungry to deliver quality professional wrestling and storytelling. They don't want to show up and just mail it in. These guys that are there right now want to showcase themselves to the world on such a platform where people see this and they go, I'm not missing next week. Everyone's putting their best foot forward, and that is the best atmosphere to be working in. It drives everyone to be better and have better matches, and the execution of everything comes off 10 times better. And management couldn't be more supportive of that either. I mean, it's fantastic.
So you mentioned that you become friends with Austin Aries and that he's moved out that way. A question for you. How do you guys diet together? It's quite different diet.
That is impossible, especially right now because I've been doing the carnivore diet, and he is like shoot vegan. Yeah, that guy will not put any meat in his mouth. It sounds horrible, but there's nothing. If it's not on his diet, he will not be ingesting it, and we work around it. I was eating some of this vegan stuff actually for a few weeks with him. I was eating everything known to man. I don't discriminate against food. If it's chewable, I will eat it. But for the last 7 days, I've been on a carnivore diet. The Bell brothers inspired me to do it, and I'm probably in the best shape of my life right now, and I feel so good physically and mentally. The carnivore diet, if anyone's unaware of it, is strictly just meat, and it's fantastic.
And you mentioned actually before we jumped on air that you had just come from judo practice. Am I correct? In training?
Yes, yes. Part of a judo team. It's Ryoko Judo. They're a competing team. A lot of the guys go to nationals and stuff like that. Yeah, it's at a Vanderlei Silva's gym. If you guys ever watch Pride FC or any UFC stuff, Vanderlei has a gym out here in Vegas. It's a professional mixed martial arts academy, and there's a lot of different types of things there that are, I'd say, for everybody.
I was gonna say Vanderlei's a character in his own right.
Yes, he is.
Are there any other wrestlers training there with you, or is it just you going there?
Just me.
And so, how does this help you in your wrestling career?
Well, I mean, not to be over dramatic or try to oversell anybody on it, but I mean, initially, and I learned judo years ago. I've been involved with combat sports for my entire life. It's kind of been a family culture. However, I had never learned judo with a gi. And initially I was thinking to myself, I'm not going to be able to keep boxing with these guys coming in. I'm not going to be able to be any professional sparring partners. You know, I'm not going to be able to do any of that MMA stuff, because if I wind up getting a concussion or I wind up getting hurt, I'm out of work. So I was going to have to, limit some of my activity levels with some of the pros out here. So I decided to myself, I don't know anything about judo in a gi. So I decided to just learn from scratch. And I was just learning for the throws. I thought I could transition that into professional wrestling. And I wound up really falling in love with it. I've learned a lot about myself mentally, spiritually, and physically. My timing and balance has gotten a lot better. And it's really just a therapeutic experience. I don't know how to explain it. I've always been attracted to conflict. I'm not someone who, I'm not looking for problems, but I'm not shying away from them either. So I've just always been like that since I was a kid. I don't know. There's a lot to find out about yourself in conflict, and I've never shied away from it. And judo has been very, very good to me, and very brutal too. So,
have you tried any other forms of mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I grew up. My father was, I think he won a gold medal at Pan Am Games of either '89 or '91 in the Olympics.
Wow.
Yeah. And then my grandfather was a heavyweight boxing champion in the military. He was not military, armed forces, my apology. So, boxing and wrestling has been a part of our family culture forever. And then growing up in the 80s, everybody wanted to be Jean-Claude Van Damme. And, one day I said, Dad, why don't you teach me how to kick? And he goes, I can't kick, so you're on your own. So I started training Kyokushinkai, and then I trained Muay Thai, Vale Tudo from Mauricio Veo, who was Shogun Hua's coach from Chute Box. And then I went on to Sambo and Jiu-Jitsu, and I mean, everything. I mean, I probably honestly have trained everything with the exception of probably Krav Maga, just because I don't have the time.
So why wrestling over mixed martial arts? I mean, it sounds like you're a guy that you would not want to meet in a dark alley.
Well, I mean, it was like, the easiest way for me to explain this is, so like, since I was a little kid, I was involved with combat sports, right, with my family. And this is more of a comfort zone. So, I always watched pro wrestling as a little kid. My family watched it too, but no one took an interest in it the way I did. And as I got older, everyone was like, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a pro wrestler. And they kind of scoff at it, because they'd be like, like, you can fight for real. Why on earth would you be putting on, spandex underwear and play fighting on TV? They just didn't understand that it wasn't connecting. So I didn't really have a very supportive community. And I'm not saying that like, that was a bad thing. They just supported me doing other things in my life, just, not professional wrestling. So I pursued competing in mixed martial arts. I fought bare knuckle probably around 10 or 12 years ago in Northern Canada on the native reserves in Ontario. And that was just very easy and dangerous and stupid. And I just thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do this, I should probably do it on a pro level. So I had moved to Las Vegas about 6 years ago to fight pro. That was originally why I had moved here. And I got into the pro camps, and I was like, this stuff 7 days a week, like up at 5, running, coming home, breakfast, shower, go train, come home, lunch, shower, go back, train, dinner, shower, and then run again. That 7 days a week for 15 minutes on TV or 30 minutes, if that, I was like, and then Reebok took over. So they killed all of our sponsorships and endorsements. I was like, this is not important enough to me to actually commit a lifestyle to this. I hated that lifestyle. I realized it was more of a comfort zone than a passion. And then professional wrestling was always there. Like, I would go to these practices, these pro camps, and I would come home and watch Pancrase, like the old Japan stuff. So I was hooked. So really just I went into a professional wrestling academy here about 4 years ago. And like the first month I started training, I was already on the shows. So it's so funny. Since I was a little kid, I always knew that was going to happen. I always knew once I started training in this, that this was just going to take over my life. And maybe there was a subconscious fear of that, that commitment. People are afraid of commitment. When they know that they're on the hook for something, it could be anything. It could be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be a contract. When people know there's a commitment involved with something, sometimes they'll scare themselves out of being successful. And I think in retrospect, I did that for years. I always just wanted to do this.
So, how did you develop your artistic side, and like how does it work with your character today?
I've left the parameters very open for the development of this character, and I'll explain what that means exactly. When I first started developing this character on the independents, I looked at what was going on locally, which was here in Vegas, and what I wanted to do was a combination of things that inspired me in professional wrestling and things that inspired me from film and comics and stuff like that. But I didn't want to just blatantly rip it off. I just wanted to take nods. I wanted to little things here and there and kind of make it my own. But I realized something. Instead of trying to shove stuff down the fans' throats, this is who I am and this and that, give them a little bit. And then, let them tell you who you are. And it's a dangerous thing because for some people, they can't get a good, grip on that. But, I went out there and I was Kevin Kross in the beginning, and I was the bodyguard of a crooked promoter. That was the first gimmick that I had ever had. And, I went out there and I cut a promo one day. I said something along the lines of, all these overgrown children walking around here masquerading as adults. They want to play the role. Well, guess what? When I come around, you're going to have to pay the toll. Something like that. And then everybody started calling me the toll man. I didn't make any of it up. I didn't make any of it up. I got it from the crowd. The toll man I got from the crowd. Herald of Doomsday came from the crowd. The most vicious shooter in professional wrestling, that came from the crowd. I got the Devil of Monterey, that nickname from a newspaper in Monterey from a AAA show. I came out and I had attacked men and women on the roster. I think that night on TV, they had me decimate the entire roster from beginning to the end of the show, kind of like the 96 Kane run in WWF. The newspapers are calling me the Devil of Monterey. The name, what was the other one? Honestly, I have a million. I won't waste anybody's time. They're all on the website. It's killerkross.com. But I got all of these names from that. So to directly answer your question, I let a lot of my fan base and the crowd dictate the development of this character. I just knew that this character, if it was going to be a bad guy or a heel, there had to be really just absolutely no redeeming qualities about this figure. Absolutely not. This is a person who will sit down and have a conversation with you like this, say some boring things and maybe talk philosophy with you, and it may come off as a humanitarian, and in the middle of the conversation he's going to grab a spoon off the table and slam it into your eye socket with no explanation whatsoever. That's really scary. That's something, that's true horror. Me screaming in your face like an 80s promo for 2 minutes, and you've watched how much of that, how many years in professional wrestling, you've seen it. There's nothing there. I wanted to fall into realistic parameters of what actually bothers people in real life. What is really, honestly, it's someone you can't relate with. That's what society is afraid of. Someone that is elusive, someone that enjoys making a departure from patterns. People are creatures of pattern. With Killer Kross, he has no patterns. He's someone who really just enjoys breaking the will of human beings, and not for any rhyme or reason whatsoever. And with a character like that, from a writing standpoint, you can plug that character into anything at any time. So it works in terms of company protocol and standards, though.
So basically what you're trying to say is Killer Kross will never be a face. And I'm willing to bet that you're extremely satisfied with your presentation in Impact Wrestling. I know you said you weren't happy with it in GFW, and you take the blame on that yourself. But I got to tell you, your portrayal and your introduction to Impact Wrestling, in my opinion, has been top-notch. What do you think about that?
I'm really happy, and I appreciate that. Thank you sincerely. I'm really, really, really happy with it. And, my biggest thing, and people don't realize this, is it's important for me to contribute something different to what I'm doing. I mean, it's not a knock against anyone or anything, but if you have all of these matches on a card, whether it's an independent card or it's a television show or something, and there's no story to what's going on, I mean, that's when people check out. That's when people check out. And I really had my fingers crossed, might as well be pun intended. I had my fingers crossed with this because I was just hoping to myself, what people will want to see from me, and I have a very good general idea at this point now, is not a guy who goes out there and is looking to have a 10 out of 10 match. Of course, people want the 10 out of 10 match from everybody, but in order to complement a card, if there's 7 matches on it or 8 matches or even 3 or 4, you got to give them something different. And I've been afforded that flexibility. And generally, when promoters have booked me on independents and other programs and companies, they're aware of my work and they are aware that I work like that. If anyone's ever coming to see me or they see me on television, they should know that they're going to see something that they haven't seen on the rest of the show or perhaps any other show. And that really has been the most important thing to me. So this introduction that they've given me is absolutely perfect. And it could go in any direction at any time right now. And that's the beauty of it.
And being different's got to help with those external bookings as well. I mean, people like to see something different.
Absolutely. And, it's really cool. We've seen this new hybrid lucha libre style of professional wrestling. It's here. You know what I mean? Maybe it started, it did start in Mexico, but I think a PWG style of professional wrestling is starting to expand all over the world. You've got Will, you've got Trevor, Ricochet, you've got Phoenix and Penta, you've got all these guys, Sammy's another one. You've got all of these guys that are doing this hybrid lucha libre stuff, and nobody's better than these people. And no one, I mean, you're lucky if you even are on that level. Never mind getting past them. They are redefining, they're rewriting the laws of lucha libre as we speak. So when you get guys like that on a show, you don't want 6 other matches before that. You're going to burn the crowd out. And if we're talking TV, it becomes redundant. So I thought to myself, let them be the best version of themselves. I'm going to be the best version of myself. People want to see scary stuff. They want to see hyper violence. That's me. I can get that out there. I can deliver something that is completely fictitious with the most sincerity you've ever seen. And it won't insult your intelligence watching it because you're going to believe it because I believe it when I'm doing it. And that sincerity transcends the television screen. And that's why I think people are able to tolerate so much fiction in pro wrestling. The execution of sincerity is absolutely key in storytelling. Bobby Heenan's proven that. Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman have proven that. I mean, Piper proved it. Taker's proved it. People think Taker's dead. I mean, not literally, but no one's being like, oh, he's not really dead. We're past that because there's a level of sincerity in the presentation. And I always look to certain guys like that. Another prime example, this guy inspired me to do this, Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman, I was just saying the other day, is the master wizard of professional wrestling. He took something that everybody was positive they understood all over the world, and he made them second guess and question everything. Even to this day, people don't know when Brian was doing it for real or it was just for work. That's incredible.
Definitely. I mean, I don't think anyone will question you about Brian Pillman. He's definitely one of the brightest minds, I would say, in professional wrestling with his character.
Groundbreaking in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
Yep.
Well, speaking about, you mentioned Penta and Sammy, Aries before, and Johnny. Who in the Impact roster are you looking forward to getting into matches with?
Everyone. But if I had to narrow it down to one choice, I'm going to tell you it's going to be Phoenix. I think that Phoenix is probably going to give me the match of my career. We've been talking about doing that match for probably 3 years now. There was an untelevised match on Lucha where it was a fatal 4-way many years ago. And we lit that building up for the few moments that we had in there. And we just knew right after, at the end of the match, we just kind of looked at each other and we just kind of shook our heads and we're like, man, if they give us anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, even an hour in Iron Man, people will be talking about that match probably for the rest of their lives. I'm that confident to say that. No BS. There's just our timing and the difference in our styles. We would be able to offer something very unique and very violent.
Do you foresee that happening at an Impact ring or a Lucha ring? Or
it will most likely happen in both, I think. I hope it happens on TV before it happens in the independents, just for the sake of the crowd. But if it's booked, we're not going to say no. So,
So, where does the future look like for Killer Kross? What types of things do you want to accomplish in Impact? And what timing do you see of them happening? Like, for instance, who would you like to work with next? Or do you want to go straight to Phoenix?
I'm indifferent to who I am going to be working with. I'm interested in working with everyone. Sincerely, I say that. I want to work with whoever the people want to see me work with. That's where my philosophy lies with my professional wrestling career. I want to do things that people want to see. So much of what we watch on television is writers or whoever presenting ideas to the audience. And I think that in this day and age right now, I think the people running these programs might be better off just listening to what the crowd wants for once. I've had a very successful career just doing that on the independents, and I think that same type of formula will work for television. And I actually do believe that Impact does that. I do believe that Impact follows all the social media and the reviews. I think they're very thick-skinned, and I think they read everything. And I really do believe they're making adjustments to the program, the presentation, and the things that they're doing. It's very hard to deny that the show has gotten, how do I even put this, exponentially better than what it was a couple of years ago, with the exception of a few guys like, Samoa Joe and Bobby and AJ. I mean, they have stars now that can carry this program. I would even go so far as to say they have stars right now that can transcend where the program was when those names were there. And I'm very happy to be there, and I'm looking forward to getting in the ring and mixing up with those guys. Because as I said, I'm always going to do things that are going to be different. I'm going to do things that people want to see. And I mean, a lot of people talk about me and Cage. Cage is a good friend of mine. So that should tell you right there that if they put us in the ring, we're going to beat the holy hell out of each other. We're chummy. He's not going to be worried that I'm going to be taking any liberties on him. He knows what's coming, and I know what's coming from him. So that will be a match that's going to sell big tickets. I'm certain of it. But yeah, in terms of my career, what I'd like to accomplish, I would like to be part of the new foundation of that company. I hope that one day when people are looking back at Impact years from now, they're going to want to pull up my stuff and go, that was awesome. I would like to be someone who's regarded as a very, very important piece of the program. And that's really what I'm trying to achieve.
I mean, it's great to hear that, because I mean, you hear a lot of interviews that people give that they're just but they use Impact as a stepping ground to get into the next level of the WWE. And it's great to hear that you're focused on making Impact great, and having that big part in it. And no one will deny. I mean, I believe that the roster right now is probably the hungriest roster that they have. Everyone's trying to do their part to make it come across great.
I got to agree with you, 100%.
So, who would you? What are your thoughts on Impact partnering with some of these indie promotions for house shows and Twitch content? And who would you like to see them partner with next?
I think it's a fantastic idea from a business standpoint. It's definitely going to improve their audience demographic. It's going to expand it. In terms of garnering casual viewers, I don't think it's probably going to do much, but I'm sure that they're aware of that. Casual viewers are going to come from television. Who would I like to see them partner with next? Hard to say. I'm going to pass on that question. And the reason being is because I think they have a better understanding than I do. There's a better and stronger comprehension of who they should be partnering with in terms of viewership. I couldn't even tell you. But I would love to see them, if I had to pick one, I would love to see them partner with PWG. And I say that because their roster is strong enough now to be on that level of ring work for PWG. It would be awesome. And I know PWG is its own animal. And I know the management there. I know how they operate and think. They don't need it. But it would be cool to see.
Yeah, the more promotions that work together, the better it's going to be. I mean, there's only one, WWE. But if everyone else could work together, it's just going to bring wrestling to the next level.
Yeah, I agree.
So is there anything that you'd like to promote? I know you were mentioning your website, killerkross.com.
Yeah, I put together the website just this year. I built it, I wrote it, I did everything. I had no idea what I was doing, but for the sake of the crowd and for this day one day when I would wind up on television, It's killerkross.com, Kross. It has an origins page of the character. It has the background story, history of what I've been doing for you to catch up so you can get to know this guy. There's media affiliations. There's a merch section. It has everything. All of my social media is attached to that web page. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything. It's a one and done page. However, I would like to say, if you want to catch up real fast, you can always check out Killer Kross at YouTube. I have logged the majority of everything that I have done for the last 4 years, and I have chopped it up in a cinematic format just because I knew that this day would come, and I wanted to make sure that people had somewhere dependable that they could go and review and look at this character that they're seeing on TV. If they want to have a better understanding of him, go check it out. There's literally, I think, 75 videos of promos and stories and match clips. There's tons of stuff. It's all free content. It's all for people to enjoy.
I'm pretty sure it was more like 99 when I checked it out. It's a lot. There's a lot of Killer Kross material up there. Yeah, so it's definitely an absolutely fantastic resource for all things Killer Kross related. It makes our job at doing background on you extremely easy. So I mentioned it before. You should be extremely proud of your website and your YouTube channel and social media in general. I think you're doing a fantastic job with it, way better than 99% of the others out there. So definitely keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we bring this thing to a conclusion?
No, just wanted to actually thank you guys for actually giving me the platform to discuss this stuff. I think podcasts and radio and stuff like this is so important, especially in this day and age for professional wrestling. You're giving us an opportunity to discuss some of the ideas behind the scenes in a safe atmosphere, and just plugging what we're doing. It's sincerely appreciated. I very much appreciate that you guys reached out, and yeah, anything big or new that comes up, I'd love to come back and discuss it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we would absolutely love to have you back. It was a fantastic interview. We thank you immensely for your time. I know I've enjoyed myself. Griggs, I think I can probably speak for both of us on that one.
Definitely.
All right, awesome.
We'd love to have you back anytime.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, look, folks, that's all we've got for this edition. So then on behalf of the entire Heelcast, especially my good buddy Griggs. Griggs, thanks for coming back, man. It's been a while since you've been on.
I'm always here. Anytime, you guys.
Awesome. Well, look, folks, I'm Impact Dude saying thanks for listening and have a great day.